Facebook family, what's going on? Hi, it's your girl Ike, your favorite lawyer, maybe your not so favorite lawyer. So I got a meeting at 12:30, so I wanted to do this quick video. Um, okay, so I got a couple of messages in my inbox from a few people who were sharing a video with me. The video was of a woman showing the Supreme Court um, website, and the Supreme Court website, and showing the Dred Scott case. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Dred Scott case, the Dred Scott case was a case back in the 1800s in which a slave, Dred Scott, he had gone to a free territory and then returned to a slave territory, and he asserted that since he had been in a free territory, he was free, even though he had returned to a slave territory, and so he sued the government. In I believe it was Missouri, and the state court in Missouri said, "Hey, you're right. Okay, so you're free." But Missouri appealed, and so it went to federal court, and the Supreme Court ultimately ruled on this. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled, and it's Chief Justice Taney. I remember that from law school, and it's been almost 20 years. But that's how, when certain cases and you read them and they affect you in a certain way, they stay with you. And Dred Scott is one of those cases that any black lawyer or any black person who has read this case, is going to resonate with you. And that's the decision in which the Supreme Court held that Dred Scott, instead of being granting him his freedom, because the law was on his side, they said he didn't have standing to even challenge the law. You don't have standing. And the reason you don't have standing is because you are a descendant of slaves. And as a descendant of slaves, you are not a citizen of the United States. That is what the Dred Scott case stood for. That black Americans who were descendants of slaves were not citizens, and that we had no rights, that any white man was bound to respect. That is the legacy of our justice system. That is foundational, right? Now, the video that's going around stops there, and that's why I have to come in here and correct things, because when you have people who are misinformed or ill-informed trying to, no, let me get back. They're uninformed, and then they're trying to give you information that leaves you misinformed. And I can't stand that. So let me correct that. The Dred Scott case is no longer the law of the land. Why, Ike? Why? Because there was something called the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, for those of us who are descendants of slaves in this country, the 14th Amendment is what confers citizenship upon you. The phony Constitution. That's why when you hear Donald Trump say the phony emoluments clause, you should be concerned, because your freedom, 13th Amendment, and your citizenship, 14th Amendment, and your right to vote, 15th Amendment, um, are all predicated on the Constitution. And if that shit is phony, then what does that say about your rights? What does that say about your position in this country at all? So I wanted to correct that, because there's a video going around. So please share this video, because people need to know it. I don't know if you guys remember, maybe a few years ago, there was a fury of messages going around the black community about how we were going to lose our right to vote. You remember that? Because the Voting Rights Act of 1964 was expiring. Do you remember the fuckery? Like, do you know how stupid we as a black community looked, believing that our rights to vote came from an act and not the Constitution? And so your citizenship comes from the Constitution. You could even throw in the Civil Rights Act, I think, of 1866, but that wasn't ratified till 1870, and I believe that the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868. I could be wrong. Y'all could check the fucking dates. I don't care. But I'm around about that time. Anyway, I'm doing this to clarify your citizenship status. Okay, so black people are citizens of the United States via the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which uh, overrode, or with an overriding um, factor for the Dred Scott case. So that is no longer good law. Dred Scott case is no longer good law. And what it is good for What it is really good for is to go back and look at the sentiments of the people who were running the country at that time, and then examine where we are, the sentiments of the people that are running the country now, and see just how far we've come. We haven't. We really haven't. So yeah, that's where we are with it. So just, make sure that we are informed. We have to be informed because information is power. And the last thing you want to do is to start espousing thoughts and ideas that are inaccurate, because that affects your credibility. And if you don't have credibility, then nobody's going to listen to you. Right. So, all right. So those of you who shared that video with me, please share this one, so that we can counter the misinformation. Okay. We need to counter the misinformation. You also keep in mind that right now is the time where all of the Russian bots are engaging in this process in which they are trying to misinform um, a lot of segments of the community, including and particularly and especially including the black community. And so we have to stop accepting everything that we've heard. Um, do some research. Activate your intellectual curiosity. Activate it and actually go and look some things up. Right? I can't see any in the comments. I'm sorry, y'all, because I'm going through. I think when I go through the fan page, I can't see comments, but it could be that I'm not I don't have time. I gotta I gotta get into my meeting. I got a meeting. Oh, it's 12. I hope they feeding me today. I'm gonna take some pictures and put them up. If they're not feeding me, it's gonna be a protest in Brooklyn. All right, I'm hot. I gotta get out this car and I gotta take this shit off. It's hot. All right, family. All right, so y'all are citizens. Enjoy yourself. Make sure you register to vote because this one is gonna be a real one. All right, don't complain. Vote. I love you. I really do. Peace.